For my panel, Liberal MP Tim Wilson and Labor MP Ed Husic are on the panel. Hello to both of you.
Good afternoon, Patricia. Hello.
Hello. Now, Tim, I want to start with you because big day again in Melbourne with announcements. Several restrictions will end in Melbourne from midnight tonight, and there've been, additional ones where you can have one group a day, a family a day visit. What do you make of that rate of relaxation, and particularly, specifically, this home visits rule that's been established today?
Well, I think like a lot of Victorians, I welcome it. I do understand why some requirements need to continue to be in place, particularly around accountability for who's been visiting different homes, because, of course, we're still in what you have to say is the latency period of the virus and its potential spread if it's undetected at this point. So I think practical, sensible measures should always be at the heart of the policy response of the government, ones built on trusting and respecting Victorians to do the right thing, and I think what we're seeing is a rebalancing in that favour, and for that reason I think it's sort of broadly a positive step. We all want it to move ahead faster, but I think that it's proportionate and does what it needs to do, which is trust and respect Victorians as the foundation for the measures we're now taking.
Well, let me just press you on something. You say you hoped it would happen faster. It didn't. I mean, it's happened when it's happened.
Sure.
Do you accept that 2 days of donuts or whatever? I do love that. Apparently there's not that many donuts left in Melbourne. People have got so excited with the 2-0 days. Would not have been achieved if this length of lockdown wasn't carried out by the government.
Well, I think the measures, there are a number of things that wouldn't have happened without certain measures by the government. We would never have had the spread of the virus into the community in the first place. We also wouldn't have seen harsh lockdown measures, and because we had such harsh lockdown measures, we're able to get back to a point where we now have two, as you call them, 2 donut days in a row. But the trade-off of that is there has been huge cost, and I've always argued the measures we should introduce should be sustainable, that they need to take the community with them, and they have to be built on respecting and trusting Victorians. And my hope is that's the approach the state government is going to take from now on.
I want to bring you in, Ed Husic, because obviously Victoria achieving this has implications for the national kind of border situation and the economy and lots of things. I spoke to your colleague a couple of minutes ago, Brendan O'Connor, and he says it's time to open actually the borders now. He says New South Wales should open to Victoria, and Queensland, he mirrored the view there of Peter Beattie, should open up to New South Wales. Do you agree?
I think a lot of people want to see the borders open up. I think also the public wants to see that happen in a safe way when the states and territories feel comfortable about doing that. And you've seen in the Victorian case, mammoth, huge effort there by Victoria. And as a Sydney-sider, easy for me to make that observation, but understanding that these measures that have been in place that, really required a lot of patience and support from Victorians, and you've seen the benefit of that. And I was struck in particular by the statistics that were quoted by Deputy Leader Richard Marles today in the House, when he said on July 30, you saw in Victoria roughly 730 new cases announced on that day. On the same day in the UK, it was about 846. You fast forward 12 weeks, 0 new cases in Victoria, nearly 21,000 new cases in the UK recorded today. So it demonstrates that those measures played a very big role in the Victorian case. And now, if we can see this continue, that you would want to see the borders between states start to open up as quickly as humanly possible.
The Prime Minister says people can expect some part of the unemployment COVID supplement to continue beyond the end of the year. I'll stay with you, Ed Husic, and then I want to put this, of course, to Tim Wilson. What rate should that COVID supplement continue at, do you think?
Well, I think, it's difficult for me to be completely direct with you, to be able to pick a number out of the air and say that right now. I think the big thing that people are concerned about is if support is withdrawn too early, if it's premature and it basically impacts on the economy, then this will be counterproductive. And certainly there have been a number of people through this. I feel particularly for the 1 million casuals who couldn't necessarily get JobKeeper support. There were people in my electorate in the aviation sector, particularly from Donata, that were denied JobKeeper support. We see people in the aviation sector broadly who wanted to see greater levels of support. That was denied to them. You can ask those people what the impact is of not getting the support that you want, and I would just hate to think that the economy might suffer if we make a premature decision. It's why we've been saying there's no need to rush.
Tim Wilson, obviously that COVID supplement's pretty key for people who are now languishing on unemployment benefits because the jobs just aren't available in the economy, particularly Victoria, obviously quite hard hit, your own state. What do you think that supplement should be? Should it be retained at the same rate after December?
Well, I think that's exactly, the government's looking at exactly these measures about what's necessary to support people during this time, because the difference between now and normal times, of course, there's normally employment and opportunities, and we want Australians to be able to earn a living and earn a livelihood. And so it's about where we get that balance right. So I don't have a hard number for you, but that's why the government's looking at it cautiously, and the Prime Minister had not just ensured that it was provided in the COVID-19 period, but we're looking at the extent to which it needs to be extended to continue to support people, because we don't want to create artificial incentives to dissuade people from work. We also don't think that a lot of people out there on support at the moment don't want to work. We think they do want to work, and it's about making sure we have the jobs and opportunities for people to be able to return to work and continue and rebuild their careers.
Look, it's been revealed that ASIC was made aware of problems with the Deputy Chair's relocation payments a year ago, but doesn't appear to have acted. Tim Wilson, still staying with you, and then Ed Husic, I want to hear from you. Does that mean that there's perhaps a cultural issue at ASIC, and what kind of action do you think should be taken? Should there be an overhaul of those positions?
Well, as the Chair who oversees ASIC and its operations, it does raise very deep concerns. In fact, James Shipton made the announcement effectively in front of the committee I chair last Friday. And it does raise questions about the culture within ASIC. They didn't take swift responses, and that's why review's appropriate, because these, as soon as these matters were raised, they should have been addressed, and there should have been swift response. And so, the government's considering all of its options in terms of response to the resignation of Deputy Chair Crennan, the standing aside of James Shipton for now, and looking and considering whether there are further options that need to be included, including a review of ASIC and its operations. And I think we should be looking at that review, looking at those matters before we make any final decision.
Ed Husic, how do you think this should be handled?
Well, I think a lot of Australians would watch what's happening here and the eye-watering amounts of money and wonder why these things aren't dealt with sooner. I think the Treasurer has got questions to answer in this, claiming on the one hand that he only just found out about it when it's clear from evidence that was presented to the very committee that Tim Wilson just referred to that the Treasurer was aware very early, or much earlier than suggested, about what had happened. The Deputy Chair of ASIC indicating that both Treasury and the Treasurer were in receipt of the letter from the Auditor General, or the email from the Auditor General on 15 September. I mean, if you want to deal quickly with these things, it should have been dealt right there and then, or as close as possible to that, not let it drag out. And I think this just reinforces the case with the amounts of money that have been misused within ASIC, and we've seen the Leppington Triangle, the land deal there. We've seen what's happened with AusPost. It reinforces the point about the need for a National Integrity Commission plus proper funding of the Auditor General, not having 20% cut out of it. What we've seen since the coalition's come in is cutting back the funding of the Auditor General. We need to see support for oversight, and that's clearly under question with what we've seen in the last few days.
All right.
Can I just deal with complete misinformation?
Because I've run out of time.
Absolutely. Firstly, the email from the Auditor General on the 15th of September to the Treasurer had no details and specified no details, so that's just rubbish. And the ANAO has said in front of Senate estimates its budget has not been cut, so it's just a fiction put forward by Ed Husic.
All right, let's...
Wrong.
OK, the letter...
Well, that's just wrong. Karen Chester did not say that. I mean, I've got the Hansard of what Karen Chester says.
I tell you... I know,
Because I
what
have
happened?
to pause. The letter does say that there's an issue that needs to be discussed with the Treasurer, that there's an issue. I know, I've seen it. Doesn't actually detail, it's true.
Correct.
So let's just leave it there because I've seen the letter myself, so I can do some
no red
on.
light. There's no red light. Move it on, brush it aside.
But
sure.
you can argue it might be a red light, but it doesn't give any details. I'm parking it there, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Patricia.
Liberal MP Tim Wilson and Labor MP Ed Husic.